is a convicted felon, okay, a big-time loser, has been pretty open about his plans, if elected, to stack D.C. with loyalists, going after the media and comedians. How threatened do you have to be to go after comedians? He wants to do some mass deportations, which really is a throwback to the 30s. A dictatorship by any other name. This is what he is planning. People are saying this could be the closest election in a century. I personally cannot understand why anyone would vote for him. A lot of it is, I think, he's getting bad information. People are getting bad information from other channels. But do you have an explanation for this at all?
Well, let me just add to your list. I mean,
we don't listen. It's only an hour show.
Exactly. How much time do you have?
Twice impeached.
Including, he has said he would terminate the Constitution of the United States.
And he will weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, round up peaceful protesters and throw them out of our country, and even, and I quote, terminate the United States Constitution.
Yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve. On that point, Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it.
I mean, so I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up.
And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America. I believe that Donald Trump is dangerous. I believe that when you have a president of the United States who has said to his generals who work for him because he is commander-in-chief, these conversations, I assume many of them took place in the Oval Office. And if the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, is saying to his generals, in essence, why can't you be more like Hitler's generals, Anderson? Come on. This is a serious, serious issue. And we know who he is. He admires dictators, sending love letters back and forth with Kim Jong-un. My opponent, however, has made it a thing of his to admire dictators and autocrats around the world. He exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. Remember that?
It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. Donald Trump, he openly admires dictators and authoritarians. He has said he wants to be a dictator on day one if he were elected again as president. He gets played by these guys. He admires so-called strongmen, and he gets played because they flatter him or offer him favor. The commander-in-chief of the United States of America must stand strong. He who said he would be a dictator on day one. He who intends to weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Take away the independence of the Department of Justice and put in place loyalists. Fundamental notions about who and what we are as a democracy are at play in this election. Donald Trump has said he will be a dictator on day one. Many people come from backgrounds and countries of origin, and we know what that means when you're talking about someone who wants to be president of the United States and wants to be a dictator, and what that means in terms of taking freedoms from their people. Donald Trump has said he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. I urge you to look at Project 2025, and you will see he will strip the Department of Justice of its independence and put in and hire across the board, instead of career public servants, his people who are his loyalists. Donald Trump said he would, and I'm using a quotation, terminate the Constitution of the United States. Imagine the Constitution of the United States, which guarantees the Fourth Amendment against unreasonable search and seizure by a government on you, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment. So I believe that the stakes right now are extraordinarily high, and potentially, some might say, historians have said, unprecedented. And so maybe the whole situation, including your point, is a bit unprecedented. But this is an unusual time where we are literally having a choice as the American people about choosing a path, either that is about rule of law, democracy, or something that is about admiring dictators and autocracy. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
You've heard.
You talk about extreme.